to the Houston Shortwave Listening YouTube channel. Here with my brother, and maybe if you hadn't figured it out, we're twins. And you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Gary Redor. I live up in Huntsville, Texas, which is about 1 hour north of Houston. Worked for the city of Houston as an engineer for 30 years and was lucky enough to be able to retire, I guess, almost 10 years ago. So enjoy living up here, kind of in the country, we could say, and don't miss that Houston traffic, into ham radio and shortwave listening. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
All right, yeah, thanks. So I know we'll talk about this in another video about the shortwave. We've been doing that for a long time, since we were, I don't know, started around, I think, 14, 15.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm going to have a video about your ham radio. So how did you, when did you get involved in ham radio?
I think I got involved in ham radios around November 2023. I was just happened to be driving around town here, and I saw a banner out in the field saying the Walker County Ham Radio or Amateur Radio Association group was going to have a meeting. And I was like, I didn't know they had a ham radio group here in the city here, and I thought, well, maybe it'd be kind of neat to check that out. I know we were growing up like listening to shortwave radio back in the probably 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. Used to hear a lot of hams talking, and actually I'd considered maybe trying to get a ham radio license back then, but back then you needed to take the Morse code test, and I guess I didn't feel like dealing with that or hassling with that, and that was kind of the main deterrent that kept me from even looking into that, because I think I'd even gotten some books on ham radio and that type of thing. But so I went to one of the meetings here at the local club and found out that right now to get your license you don't need to take the Morse code test or CW. So I said, hey, that's great. So I went and then found out, and I got my novice license, study for that. There's a lot of studying you have to do, and then maybe about 3, 4, maybe 5 months later I got my general license, so I have the 2. There's another level above that, but I don't think I'm going to worry about getting that. Yeah, the thing with the entry-level novice license, you can own, there's very limited, the bands that you can talk on. I think it was only 10 meter, like 28 megahertz. And all the other bands are kind of off limits. But when you get that second general license, it opens up all these other bands, and you can talk more. So that's what kind of motivated me to get that second license.
Yeah, I remember when we were listening to shortwave, you know, sometimes there wasn't a whole lot of info. So I remember at the time there was some ham radio store in Houston.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes I'd go there just to see what they had, and yeah, I bought some ham radio books, but you know, I never went as far as you with that. But it's sort of interchangeable. A lot of the topics are interchangeable, especially with antennas and radio propagation and stuff like that. So I guess, what do you like about ham radio?
Well, I guess it was kind of a throwback to my shortwave listening days, because I really loved shortwave because you could hear stations from all over the world, from other countries. It was just kind of exotic and fascinating. And with the hams, you're not listening to radio stations, but you're actually talking with other people. And I kind of like that. You kind of talk to people all over the world, and you can hear people from countries all over the world, and just getting in. You can also interact with them, and cause what I loved about shortwave is writing to the stations, getting the QSL cards, and we had collections of those. But you can do the same thing with ham radio. So the hams exchange QSL cards to verify what's called a QSO, or you had a communication, and that kind of verifies. So you can collect QSL cards. I have a big binder over there with a whole bunch of QSL cards, and then you can also join organizations, and you can get certificates. Like, for example, I got the one a lot of people get is having confirmed QSOs, or confirmation of calls with somebody from each of the 50 U.S.
Oh,
states.
really?
Yeah, so that's
You got that one?
yeah, I got that. It'd be a little bit challenging getting Hawaii and Alaska,
Yeah.
and surprisingly, Louisiana
Oh, really?
was a little bit difficult. I thought it would be easy, but I
Yeah,
think
we're-
since
we're
it's
close.
so close, you know, the wave
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
goes over.
Mhm.
You're really too close in a way. And then there's another, I guess one of the most coveted, not coveted, it's not hard to get, but you just have to put the time in, is to confirm communication with over 100 countries.
Hmm.
So I got that. So,
Oh, wow.
well, countries, they have a designated, maybe not specifically what you think of as countries, but they have a list of each one of the designated country areas or groups, they call it.
You did that in a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah, I think I
didn't
did
you?
that like in 5-6 months. But the thing is, they have competitions, like twice a year, big competitions where people all over the world are on a weekend. They're just trying to make as many these
many
competition
contacts.
teams. They're trying to make as many contacts as they can in 3 days. So yeah, I got probably the majority of the contacts within 2 of those contest sessions, because I probably got 20, 40 different countries you're never going to really hear. It would be very difficult to hear at other times because they're just not on the air in the volume. And they're looking for people to make contact with. And it might
So
be,
this is like some area set up that you have to bring your radio to?
no, just did it from here in the
Oh,
house.
from here. Oh, okay.
But everybody around the world knows, hey, maybe this is the big ham radio contest
so
going on this
everybody's-
weekend. So everybody in the world,
It's
all
on
the
the
hams.
radio.
Yeah, because I didn't realize it, but there's big, they have contest teams from each country. They're really heavily into that. They have these big antenna farms, and they got rooms maybe with 4 or 5 people with high-tech radios, and they're kind of competing with each other to see how many QSOs they can make in the weekend.
Wow.
They get awards, so they're looking to make contacts. So it makes it a lot easier.
All right. Yeah, we'll check out some of your, is it called QSO cards, not QSL cards?
Yeah, I think I call them QSL cards. I think because QSL means like verification of,
Yeah.
and a QSO is just like a contact
Okay.
with another
Cool.
ham.
Check out those. So be looking for some videos. I posted a video today about my Radio Tahiti QSL card and some backstory related to that. So you guys can check that out on the channel. So I'll be posting more, and Garrett can be posting a lot about his ham QSL cards. Yeah, that brought up a memory. I guess when we were shortwave listening a lot, the NASWA, North American Shortwave Association, had some kind of awards that you can get too. I remember we'd gotten like ecclesiastical and some kind of a
Yeah.
World DXer, and I can't remember the details now, but you had to log so many countries and stations to be
Yeah.
able to get that type of award. So that made it fun.
Yeah.
So I think you already said, but so how many countries have you logged up to now?
Yeah, I think it's probably, maybe I was checking into that, probably maybe like 110 or 115 or something like that. But I said the way they designate countries, some of it's a little bit different than technically
Shortwave?
countries, yeah. But it's over 100, so it's amazing to me. That's what kind of, you can have a little antenna in the backyard, just a radio, and how radio wave can just transmit
Yeah.
and propagate all around the world.
Yeah, that's always fascinated me too. How just the radio wave, and based on the ionosphere, atmospheric conditions, you can talk to somebody or hear radio stations from all over the world. That was kind of magical about shortwave, and hearing Radio Tahiti or some other stations from the Pacific or just anywhere. So I guess, so this is your radio you use for ham.
Right, yeah. It's a Yaesu. And I remember from back in the shortwave days, Yaesu was pretty big.
Yeah.
Even back then, Kenwood makes ham radios. ICOM is still makes ham radios. But so it was kind of choice when I was between this, and they have a ICOM that was been around, that was really popular, but this was a little newer technology. And they're probably around comparable pricing. This is somewhat, I would say, somewhat entry level ham transceiver. I think it was about maybe $799 on sale. You know, like anything, sky's the limit. You can spend a lot more money.
So for the more expensive ones, you just have maybe a lot more filters,
Yeah, filters,
better
and,
types of filters,
more
and
functions you can do
functions.
with the radio. But for an average person, I think that's more than adequate. And the benefit is you can also listen to shortwave broadcasts on that as well. So it's multifunctional, but you need an external antenna, and it's not really it's not portable. Well, I've taken it to the park and done what's called parks on the air broadcast, because I have a little case I put it in, and there's a battery I hook it up to.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess what would you say is maybe like you have a favorite contact that you made, or favorite contacts?
Yeah, one story. Yeah, I was just tooling around. Yeah, the band sometimes, and that's how I got kind of a lot of the contacts. I was just surfing, and I heard something that sounded kind of interesting. Sometimes you have to listen a while because they're given the call sign, but you don't really know where they're from. But there's a web page. I can't think of the name or organization. You can join. You can punch in the person's call sign and it'll tell you what country they're in. So yeah, I was heard this guy saying he's from I think it's, Easter Island. It's like Easter Island. Wow.
Yeah, really.
That sounds kind of exotic. The propagation conditions weren't very good, but sometimes you got to keep trying because people with more, usually use 100 watts is the maximum. I can use on this radio, but some people have then external amplifiers. They can boost it up to 2, 3, 4, 500 watts, so it's much easier. For your
what are you just with the license? How much power can you transmit?
And I think I don't remember. I can probably do maybe up to 1,000 if you have the right. But those amplifiers are expensive.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't think you don't really need that. It makes your signal sound a lot stronger. Of course, you can reach more people a lot easier. But I think most people don't use amplifiers. And then so that was kind of, and I finally got through because there's a lot of when you got an exotic station like that. Everybody and his brother's trying to call, so you got one person and you might have hundreds of people trying to get through at the same time. Yeah, and those people that have more wattage, they're coming in stronger. So sometimes you have to be persistent. But I, finally got through to him and then got the information and then sent him a letter with the return postage, and maybe it took 3, 4, 5 months to get back. Another time I heard
But you did get a QSL
I got
card?
a QSL from him. Then another time, one that I was really excited, I heard there was this kind of a special event station from Haiti. Because Haiti, I thought, well, who's ham radio in Haiti? So I was excited to hear that. And I got a couple, I guess, from the South Pacific.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
But some of those I had to, like they're broadcasting, but I had to I tried to get in maybe for 30 minutes or an hour. Never get through because everybody else was overriding or getting through, and then I tried a second day, couldn't get through. So like the third time, I got through. So that's some of you got to keep at it, be persistent, because those contests, those special stations like that, they're on the air for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks max, and that's the only time you can hear them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they go to certain locations just so hams can get a confirmation, because you might not have another opportunity from confirming a station from that locale. So
there are like parts of the world that are considered like more difficult to catch, maybe like some parts of Asia, Nepal, Bhutan, some places like that.
Most coveted is North Korea.
Oh yeah, I can see
because
that.
a couple of people apparently have gotten it, but there's not many hams there, and it's just from the governmental, political atmosphere. Yeah, there's some like uninhabited atoll islands where these call them de-exposition groups will go just so they can broadcast. They got to send boats in, have all their supplies. It's a logistical and kind of nightmare sometimes, and they're only there for two 2-3 weeks. So there's a list. They have a ranking
Mm-hmm.
of the most difficult. But for me too, I found it's the most difficult. One of the areas to hear is like Asia.
Yeah, that's what I was
China,
thinking. Mm-hmm.
Korea, Vietnam. I've heard Japan surprisingly is not that difficult because there's a lot of hams, in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
But especially like India, I've never heard anybody. India, Pakistan,
Interesting.
some of the Arab countries like Morocco, I've confirmed, and even Africa, I've gotten South Africa. A couple other Mali.
Oh, really? Mali.
Yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, I'd say it's Asia, Southeast Asia is for me, and like India area, because there's probably not that many hams in India to begin with, and just the distance and.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll have a video. We'll show you Gary's antenna set up outside, and maybe we'll go look at some of your QSL cards. Is there anything else like you wanted to mention about your involvement in ham radio? Or?
No, it's just kind of I think it's a real interesting hobby. It's maybe not for everybody, but it's interesting too. There's women that are in it, women that have gotten like kind of the highest level certifications in ham radio, and I guess they do volunteer, can do community service work, especially in times of power outages or emergencies and events like that. A lot of times ham radio may be the only way to make contact and communicate with organizations. So,
But don't hams have like some mock
they got
mock drills or something like
Yeah,
that?
because there was like some emergency preparedness event that they had not too long ago, and some of the hams come out, set up, or even like community events, they'll set out in a tent and maybe broadcast to show the public. But it's something that I guess a lot of people probably aren't going to be interested in, and you're not going to attract a lot of people. So it's kind of a specialty niche, and it's probably 99.9% male.
Oh,
Kind
yeah.
of older males. So.
Yeah. I think that's probably the same way with shortwave radio.
Yeah.
Listening as well, just an aside, I remember I bought the scanner a year or so ago, but we had one again when I was a lot younger, but the technology is just totally different. I remember, I guess I could listen to some hams on there, and they were talking about some emergency preparedness stuff that they were working, but I guess just trying to program those trunking scanner systems now, and it's just too much work for me. So I don't think I'm going to get into that part of the scanner business. I found some website where you can hear some Houston police, looks like dispatch signals, stuff like that. But all right, well, let me go get the camera. We'll take a look at some of your QSL cards.